Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The Passion Project. I'm one of your hosts, Guru. My other host is over there, Derek.
Hello.
And this is a weekly podcast where we bring in a new guest for them to talk about something that they're extremely passionate about. It can be literally anything: ribbon collecting, snow, or even collecting oil paintings of Felicity Jones. And this week's guest is Katrina.
Hi.
Okay, and Katrina, what have you come to here today to talk to us about?
Community service and all the other, the events I've done and all the activities I've participated in.
Okay, and could you just start by talking about what various groups and events that you do, yearly?
Okay, so none of them are, directly from something that you would reach out to, in a community or something. Usually mine are affiliated with, sports and stuff. I used to do Irish Step, and we would do all sorts of different things. We would go, and it started off as small things, just dancing at weddings and stuff, and for no money. They'd just ask if we would attend. But one of the things we did is we went to the Perkins School for the Blind, and we got to dance for them. And even though they couldn't see us, we wore hard shoes, which is kind of like a bigger tap shoe. So they were able to listen and feel the vibrations, and a couple of them even got emotional about it, and it was just a really incredible experience. And that was when I was a freshman. So since then I've done a ton of things because I've just wanted to keep spreading happiness like that, because I don't know, it just really clicked with me. So Relay for Life, I do that every year, and I'm always one of the top raising students. I think this year I was even the top raising student. And I don't know, just all sorts of different events. And my dad used to work at the Home Depot, and they have this thing called Team Depot, and you would go around and do all different events, go to the beach and clean it up, or we helped build a school, or I read books to kids at Christmas time, and then we gave them food and stuff. So all sorts of events like that.
Okay, and in your opinion, why do you think it's so important to have events like this, or just, I guess generally speaking, why do you think it's important for people to give back to the community?
Well, I think it's important because a community will always be there for you. I know my family's pretty religious, but you'll always have, either, if it's not the church, to be there for you, neighbors or family and friends, whoever live around in the community with you. And it's not just specifically in Winchester. It can be community as the surrounding towns and the whole areas around you. And it's important to give back to those who give to you, I guess. So even if they're not, you don't directly talk to somebody who may be homeless or something that's on the street, but in some way they're participating in your community. So I don't know, to me it's very important to be able to give back and continue with things like that, I guess.
And then I guess we could maybe delve into some of the more recent projects you've been a part of. I guess the big one you take Relay for Life, and I know that's pretty prominent in Winchester, but I guess for the few people who may not know what it is, could you just explain what that is and the whole process of getting involved in Relay for Life?
Mm-hmm. So Relay for Life is led by the American Cancer Society, and it's an event that takes place at fields and schools all over the country. I don't know how else, where else they spread to, but we have it at Manchester Field every year. And you stay there overnight, and you can make a team, and you all raise money. And if you raise over $100 as an individual, you get to stay overnight. And then, so my whole team, we all raise over $100, and we get to stay the whole night. And you walk laps to try and walk out cancer and stuff. And it really raises a ton of money because it's a fun event. So people who may not be they think of community service as, oh, I got to go to a soup kitchen or something. That's just a fun event that you get to go to and participate in. So I don't know, it's just a lot of fun to participate in every year. And I raised in a total, and I've only done it for 3 years, I've raised $10,000 just myself or something like that. So I love Relay for Life.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And actually, I'm just realizing the timeliness of this episode, because WHS Gives Back also ended, I think, yesterday. Mm-hmm. And we raised a little over $15,000.
Yeah, and I know the teachers did something where one teacher was whatever all the teachers raise, I'll match it, and that ended up adding, I think, $2,000 to WHS Gives Back.
Yeah, and thanks, Derek. And what are your thoughts on some of the people, because actually wait, I'll get to that next. I was gonna ask first, wait, Derek, what sort of community service groups are you a part of?
I do what about you, Guru? You talk about yourself first.
Okay, I don't like talking about myself, Derek. But so I guess the big thing that I do is like Deer, which is like drop everything and read, which is I guess it's like part of Connect and Commit sort of, but it's basically like every Wednesday a group of high schoolers walks over to Lynch Elementary School, and then we just basically read to the kids there, and then like these kids specifically have difficulties with reading, so it's like super fun because you just hang out with like little kids. They're like all like first graders or second graders, and they're also super cute. But then they also have, it's also like a learning opportunity for them, and I mean that's just like really fun. It's just like once a week basically, and we have like fall, winter, spring sessions, and the one downside is like they're little kids. They're just restless, and like you're trying to read to them, or you try to get them to read, and then maybe they just want to like run around and do other stuff. But usually it's a really fun time. But yeah.
All right, Guru. That's very nice of you to work with the kids. Most of the community service stuff I do. I mean, I do Relay for Life too, but I do a lot of stuff with my church. But it's mostly just things like, okay, we have like a ton of clothes that we're going to hand out to homeless people, or food that we're going to give out, or like building boxes to give to like women who've escaped from abusive relationships, like all different things. But I mostly do things through my church. Speaking of, I know you're very religious. Do you do things through your church a lot?
So I'm not as religious as my family. I am, but not to the extent they are. They have like all sorts of events. I'm not always in them, but I know they do like what's it called? I think it's like Catch a Falling Star, but that could just be from the name of the store downtown. But like they put these stars on the wall, and you go around, and they have different price points for like the kids ask for something. So like it starts like on one side it's like less money, and then like so whatever you can afford, you go and you pick like a star, and then you can get those gifts for the kids and bring it in. So me and my family try to do that every year and things like that. But I know they do like a ton of events. Like they always have the pumpkins and something for every season.
Okay. I think it's also great that like the school itself has so many like random community service clubs. I mean, Connect Commit is like the biggest one, but there's a student council does stuff. I think there's like Interact Club, and then Relay for Life. UNICEF Club.
Mm-hmm.
In Relay for Life, I guess it's sort of like its own sort of program. And then NHS, all those NHS service things. Which actually, the thing about NHS service that annoys me is that like the service projects they have are for a good cause, but like no one takes them seriously. Which is not a knock on the NHS officers. I love you all. And I love you too, Ms. Chocolate. But the thing about it is just that like a lot of kids just do it for the hours, or just for like the resume thing. Which I guess was something I wanted to ask you. Like, do you think just because of like the age we're in and sort of like the whole college process and stuff, that some kids, our age at least, don't genuinely participate in like community service? Like they may do it for the resume, or like, I mean, it's fine to put it on your resume, but like they don't care about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see like plenty of, even like non-community service things like clubs. Everybody's just trying to do something to put on their resume, which isn't like a bad thing, but you should be invested in what you're doing no matter what it is, because ultimately like colleges or whatever you're doing in life, people want to know that you're actually like passionate. Sorry, like we're talking about passion, but like passionate about what you're doing. They don't want you to just be doing it because you're doing it. Like you want to, like ultimately you're probably not going to put in 110% to what you're doing if you're not truly invested in it. So like if you're helping someone and you were truly passionate about it, I feel like it would mean a lot more to that person than if you're just like, oh, I'm just here because I'm trying to get into college, or blah, blah, blah. Like I'm trying to impress someone, something like that.
Yeah, and it almost takes away from the value of volunteering, because the reason volunteering looks good is because it's like, wow, this person isn't getting anything out of this, and they're going out of their way using their own personal time and resources just to help other people, not expecting anything in return. But now people are expecting like a college to accept them based on like what they've done or something. Or
like there's like, I guess with NHS again, it's just a service, or like 15 hours of service or whatever, like per year. But well, we'll forget about those kids. Are there any other program, maybe like you yourself have like tried to start, or maybe like you would continue to do in college?
I want to go to Endicott, which I was in a toss-up between a lot of schools, but the main reason I kind of want to go there is because they have so many community service events, and they also, besides the fact that they offer what I want and everything, but I just want to be able to, especially when you're leaving a community and you're going to a new community. I want to be able to still have the opportunities when I'm in college or away to participate in events like that. And I know, like, they have Relay for Life and stuff and all sorts of different ones. So that's something I'd like to try and continue to do and keep working at, I guess, even past high school and everything.
Okay. And what about like, I guess what sort of started this sort of passion for doing community service? Like, would it say like, I guess like something with your church of like those events that you did, or like a friend or like a personal event that sort of made you want to like start volunteering and doing all this stuff, or?
So I don't really know when it started. I've just always done community service. Like, growing up, I think, like, my mom and my grandparents, like, I spent a lot of time. I, like, grew up with my grandparents, so I spent a lot of time with them. So they're very, like, adamant about things. And they were like, you need to, like, give back to a community, and you can't, like, you know, always teaching you the right way or whatever. But, yeah, I've just always had it in me. And then, like, I know my family participates in a lot of things, like, both on my dad's side and my mom's side. So it's just something that I've always done. It started probably with my family, just doing small events, like I said, like when I did the team depots, like I did those in like elementary school. Like I would just go, like I was the same age as some of the kids we were helping, and then I would go in and I don't know. So it's just, I've always kind of done it.
I was always confused about what community service was, like at least in middle school, especially because like going back to the whole requirement thing, every kid just was talking about like, oh, by the time you're a senior, you have to have like X hours of like volunteering or something, which I never understood, which is not the case. Any underclassmen listening, but like Derek, what about like, were your parents ever sort of like hard, like did they ever like force you to like volunteer for something?
Nope, my parents, like, we're big about, like, helping other people, but, and there's nothing wrong with this. For us, it's less about the community and more just, like, you just help other people. So, like, my family, like, again, there's nothing wrong with feeling like a strong connection with your community, but for us, it's less about, like, the community, more about, like, we want to help other people. And, like, I know my family makes a lot of donations, but we also try to, like, do things with the church or whatever.
Yeah, that's like the same. But that's why I said, like, earlier, like, community, I'm not just directly, because I moved to Winchester. Like, it's not just directly Winchester, like, you know, surrounding towns or just people in general. Like, a community can be as big as you make it. Like, you can make the community literally the whole U.S. or something, just as long as you're giving back in some way.
And what are your thoughts about some of maybe like the social trends that also like try to like have people like donate stuff or just cause awareness, like a few years ago with the ice bucket challenge for ALS, or like right now we have the 22 push-up challenge. And like I know like some people are sort of like split on it, because on one hand it's just sort of like it's like a fun thing if you just do the ice bucket, like just pour ice water on your head. But then on the other hand, a lot of people are like get sort of angry about it because it's like it causes awareness, but at the same time some people may just do it to back out of like donating something.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Mr. Langlois in my whole class literally last year in history out of the blue, because we were talking about the NFL, and they wear, you know how I don't know if you really watch football, but they wear all like pink during October because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So you would think it's like a nice thing, and it turns out it like raises a lot of money, like, but like they're getting paid to wear these things and all that. So it was controversial. So that's what we were talking about. But then we were talking, and the longer we talked, the more I realized like ALS, I personally I might have heard of it, but I'd like never known what it was or anything until the ice bucket challenge, until it came around, and whether or not it's like being introduced in a very fun kind of not maybe serious way, like it made me more aware of it, and like it started getting me thinking, because we have so many things for breast cancer awareness. Like if none of those things were around, obviously there's a ton of people affected by it, but would we know about it as much as we know about it? Because like even elementary school kids can tell you like all about it. Like they could tell you where it starts, like can it spread, like all sorts of things about it. But like I feel like without things like that are constantly like in your face and telling you like, oh, this is here, you just wouldn't know as much about it, and people wouldn't be as apt to help and try and raise money for it, I guess, is my thought on that.
It's actually surprising how much little kids do know these days, just about like world issues, or just world, like just leaders, or also like the movies they show, little
Like,
kids
I was
these
just
days are
about to
insane.
say, like, I was rewatching Happy Feet the other day, and they have like really advanced themes in some of these
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kids
No.
movies.
I meant like little kids are like watching R.
No, I know, but
Back to
yeah.
Deer. Like there are some kids who like have watched like war films, and I'm like, what are your parents doing? But like, I mean, I guess speaking of movies or stuff, like, do you think? I guess we'll start with like media in general. Like, how does the media in general do you think portray some of these sort of the people who volunteer? Because like, do you think we don't hear enough about those like sort of do-gooders out there, or like, you know what I mean?
I feel like they do a good job of showing. Like, they do bring up a lot. Like, in the news, they'll be like, oh, this person, did this, it has contributed in some way. I feel like a lot of the time it becomes focused on, like, one person who they'll interview, and they'll be like, this person does all this, blah, 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 blah. And when there's people who are, like, neck and neck with that person or raises more for, like, other things, like, I feel if you're going to talk about the people who have done it, talk about in, like, a group or something. Like, it's very nice, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want that to stop. But I feel like there's little people out there, too, that you just don't notice as much who do a ton. Like, I feel like me, like, I don't want recognition for it or anything, but, like, if you, like, knew me, like, didn't really know me, like, I feel like you wouldn't really think that, like, I do community service all the time. Like, that's just a really random thing. Like, there's a lot of little people out there who do just as much as other people, so I don't know. I just feel like they should recognize them as a group and stuff.
Well, now they'll know because of this.
Yeah.
This will make waves.
Well, speaking of the media, talking about people who do volunteer, do you think in general, I mean, obviously there's a lot of different forms of media, but do you think that there's some people who don't volunteer as much because they don't know, like, opportunities near them? Because, I mean, in the media they'll talk about, oh, all these people raise this money in this event, and you'll be like, I've never heard of that event before. Or, like, I didn't know that that was a thing that people raised money for or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like some things are way more advertised than others. Like Relay for Life, it's literally painted on a wall, like in our school. Like it's painted on the wall. And then there's smaller things that maybe you wouldn't have known about, like the pumpkin patch that they do with the church, or like random little things. Like, and that's also, like, sometimes they're not always on social media. It's just little posters you post around your town or whatever. And there's smaller events. Like Relay for Life is huge. It's all over the U.S. But like, the smaller events that are, like, in your town.
Like that way just gives back just in.
Yeah, it's just in the school for the most part. So, like, people don't always know about it. Like, I know my mom had wanted to give to WHS Gives Back and didn't even realize it started. And it was like, I probably should have told her, but, like, it didn't even come to mind. Like, oh, I should go tell my mom. Maybe she'll want to donate. And then she found out that it was, like, it was ending yesterday or today or whenever it ended. And she was like, oh, my gosh, like, I wanted to send in a check. So, like, made sure I got a check-in, but yeah, like, it's just sometimes things just aren't advertised or pushed enough, I guess. So, like, I don't know, the only thing I could think of is, like, post it on a social media that people are always on, like, for, Facebook, always on Facebook. People are always on Facebook, so things like that.
I feel like, well, that's the weird thing about WHS Gives Back. I feel like it was posted a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of people, they're either just lazy or they're cheap. And then, like, especially, like, this happens every year with WHS Gives Back. Because it's such a worthy cause, but, like, what happens is, like, everyone, they wait till the last minute to give their money in.
I don't even think
And
it's
then-
that they wait. I think it's that everybody donates a little bit at the beginning. It tapers off, and then people are like, "Hey, we have a goal of $10,000, and we have like 3,000." Then everyone's like, "Oh, now I feel
Yeah, then
guilty."
people feel
Oh,
the guilt.
and then
yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't last year's goal, like, absurdly high?
yeah, they keep raising the goal, which is like good, but like you don't have a goal, not reach it, and then raise it
Yeah.
again the next year.
Yeah.
But
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that was just an example. I feel like sometimes that should be, even though it was put on Facebook and stuff, it can be, I don't know. I feel like teachers could have, I was talking with my mom about it, like, I feel like teachers in some aspect could have pushed that a little more, because
Yeah.
students in general are, like, not really totally motivated. There's a very small percentage of students who are truly, like, committed to every single event at the school.
and there are definitely teachers who, like, they're supposed to remind kids, like, hey, if you want to give money to WHS Gives Back,
Yeah.
like, do it now. But there were a lot of teachers who would just forget about it
Yeah.
until someone came to collect the money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
that's
they
what
have,
I'm
like, an
saying.
empty envelope, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I feel like it could have been pushed a little more, and then as it, like, gets towards the end, when there's not as much, before the whole fluctuation of when everybody donates because they feel guilty.
Yeah.
But, like, they could really push for it, and then, like, explain why it's such an important cause, because half the time I don't hear the announcements, so like you know, you don't really know what it's for, kind of. Well, like I do, because they like we're seniors and it's been around, but like freshmen, like they might not even know what it's for, and I'm sure they're not hearing the announcement because everybody's talking. So
they will next year, because the WHS Gives Back, like the teachers that run it were like, they contacted the tech crew about making like a promotional video. Actually, no, wait. I went to them just because like we need to like make more videos, and they're like, let's just do this thing for every year. And then I was talking to them yesterday, and then like they were talking about how like from here on in, like every teacher could, like on the first day, on the day it starts, every teacher could just play the video in their classrooms, like 5-7 minutes, or like, you know what I mean, just to like get the ball rolling.
But I remember when we were freshmen, there always used to be a WAG block when WHS Gives Back started, and they would have like the informational PowerPoint, which like wasn't great, but like they would actually sit down and be like, hey, just a reminder, this is starting, this is what it is, it's going on for this long, this is the process. And like now, especially that we don't have homeroom anymore, it's like, it's just like, oh, announcements, WHS Gives Back, and like you said, there's freshmen who are like, what is that?
They're also like, I think they're getting rid of the wrapping block.
They are?
I think so, because I heard some people talking about it. Like, no, it's not like they're getting rid of it. It's just like it's not mandatory for people to do it.
There was like an email or something.
I think like if teachers want to bring their kids to do it, they can volunteer. Do that. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so. I read that and I was like, because my mom asked me like, oh, why don't you sign up? And I was like, don't we usually just do it in school? So I thought maybe they just had like a surplus of gifts or something. But yeah, no.
But yeah, I just don't get it.
But it is nice we have the opportunity to raise so much money and give so many things, and like even if it's something as small as wrapping the gifts, like I feel like everybody can make a contribution. And like you said, it's not always like, oh, going to a soup kitchen, even though that's a great way to give back. It's a lot of things, and I think people who don't like community service don't realize how many different forms it comes in.
Yeah,
or people who do it but they don't realize the value of it. You know what I mean? But oh well. Are there any like specific clubs? I mean, aside from Really for Life, but I guess it's sort of a club. But like are you part of like Connect the Commit or like Interact Club or like any of these other small things within the school itself?
So I wanted to be. My sisters were. I have a lot of time conflicts, so that wasn't able to work. But I know like during school, I mean, it's not really like community service, but I TA for LC4, which is one of the special ed classes, and it's like, it started as my friend just randomly came up to me on the day that the TA forms were due and was like, do you want to like do this with me? Like, I know you like to do things like, you know, like community kind of such, or however she worded it. And at first I was kind of hesitant because I wasn't really, I don't know, it kind of caught me off guard. So, but I thought it would be something I would really like to participate in. So I did it, and I ran around the school in the last 10 minutes of school trying to collect all the various signatures to get the form in, and it has been so amazing just getting to like work with these kids every single day. And it started off like they're like Cooking for Life block, so we would go to Stop and Shop, and then we would make recipes with them, and they would look up recipes, and we have to make it in a microwave because they don't have an oven or anything. And then we teach them like cooking skills and kitchen skills and all sorts of different things. And then we also help them, now that it's colder and harder to get over there because it's icy and everything, we help them with homework and all sorts of stuff. And it's just really helped me like connect with them and like myself, not to sound tacky, because like I don't know, it's just really nice to truly be able to help someone. Where like if you're helping somebody else, like say like in your math class or something, you know you're helping them, but you like when you're helping somebody who has a harder time learning than you or like the average person, it's really humbling, and it's a really incredible experience.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And in a way, I feel like this is way tackier than what you said, but like helping other people is actually, like, of course you can do it for selfish reasons, but in a way it's selfish because you feel so like also humbled, but like it helps you to help other people.
Yeah, it's so true.
And it's like, who benefits more, like the person who's getting the thing or the giver? And like obviously both benefit a lot, but like people don't like, so I feel like sometimes people see helping as like I'm taking something from myself and giving it to someone else. So like giving up your time or your resources, but it's more than that. It's not like you're not losing anything. If anything, you're gaining anything.
Well, I mean, like it's not a bad thing if you're greedy to do good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it would be great if you had better motives, but I understand what you're saying. Like,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
like you know what I mean. Like I mean, if you think about it, like I just think like if you, I heard a line from a movie. It's an Indian movie, but I'll translate it. Like whenever people think between like desire and greed always wins. And then like I have a desire. I don't have a desire to do good. I have the greed to do good, which I think makes sense because like I mean there are people out there. You definitely seem like one of them, who like they just want to help out of the kindness of their heart. They don't seek anything else out of it. But then like you obviously like I'm glad that because you're doing all these things, you are reaping the benefits like in a weird way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then
you're selfish for helping someone.
but in a good way.
Yeah.
And then also maybe I know you're also on the volleyball team, and then like a few weeks ago we had Gabby and Carlina talk about like they talk about volleyball in general, but they also brought up Surf for the Cure, and so maybe you could also talk about like your specific experiences with that and like everything that goes on there.
So I love Surf for the Cure. It's like, it's my, for some reason every single year it has a conflict with something that I'm doing, and I always drop whatever I'm doing. Like first time my brother was gonna go on a vacation, dropped going on vacation with my brother just to go to Surf for the Cure. So a ton of, like on a more personal note, a ton of people in my family have had cancer, and my mom had breast cancer, and it's just such a big event for us. And every single year, like my mom, she like directly after school she's in the gym like trying to put up decorations or trying to help, and like honestly she probably just gets in the way, but she's always there. And like it's just an incredible experience, and it's so much fun, and so many people come, which is like the best thing ever, because they come to watch us and like, you know, have food and snacks and all the like fun things, but they don't realize that they're actually raising like a ton of money. And like I know like I think it was last week or the week before, we just brought the giant check over to the Winchester cancer, I don't totally know what it's called, but we brought it over to them. And every single year, I've gone 2 times now because I've been on varsity for 2 years, and they're just always so grateful for us to bring it over. And even though like I don't know exactly how much it was this year, but say it was like $3,000, like even though as a whole that's really not a lot of money at all, because it's such a big deal, I guess. Like it's such a big thing, and there's so many events trying to find a cure for it. Like just that little amount, they're so thankful, and like they know that like that money can help go to even just one person. And like I don't know, I love Surf for the Cure. I have so much fun every year.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any like sort of cause that like that hasn't been talked about yet, or like maybe does not have that much awareness, whether it be like something like breast cancer or like something else that you would want to that you'd want an event there to be for?
I don't know. Sometimes, so me and my mom, my mom, I've brought her up a ton of times, she also does a ton of community service. We talk about like little events that we could start all the time. So I really hope that someday when I'm older or an adult or even like in college, I can actually start one of them, because it's really kind of hard when you're in a small town just trying to start like this tiny little event. But I don't know, we have so many random ideas. Like so I have an absurd amount of pets. I don't even want to bring it up. But like all of my pets except for my dog are rescues. So like even like the tiniest things like that. So we find that like we go to the MSPCA a lot, or places where they rescue animals. Like the dogs and the cats, as awesome as it is that they take really good care of them and that like they focus in on them, a lot of the smaller animals are just kind of forgotten about. Like the rabbits and everything, and like I had 2 mice. One of them passed away. Like I have the randomest pets. Like guinea pigs especially, I have 4. They're just like forgotten about, and like they've had bad teeth and bad eyes, and one of them has like a permanently hurt foot, and like the people at the MSPCA, like they are incredible, don't take this as an insult, but like they don't even know that they have these things, and it's not their fault. It's because they're not trained to like, oh, let me focus on every single detail of this tiny animal, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know, we wanted to start some sort of event that was like, don't forget the little critters is what we were going to call it, and it's going to be like kind of like an MSPCA, but specifically for like the smaller animals like bunnies and, you know, obviously cats and dogs too, but, you know, it's just, you can't really forget about them. And then like we had like, what were we gonna do? We didn't have a name for it. That came up like literally 3 days ago. We have this elderly neighbor who her husband had passed away, and he used to decorate every single year for Christmas. And my grandparents included, like, they don't decorate for Christmas anymore either because it's really hard for them to get out there to put up lights. So we were going to go over and help her put up her lights because she had reached out to us, and we were just brainstorming, like, what an incredible thing it would be if there was, like, a little event for, like, the elderly people or people with disabilities who may live on their own or something who can't put up the lights and would really like to enjoy that, because a lot of the time people love that kind of stuff, especially like if you celebrate Christmas, I mean, but it's just like such a fun part of the year. So like, how fun would it be if it was just like a little association that comes up once a year and puts up the lights for these people, and, you know, I don't know, just little things like that. So I hope I can eventually start something like that when I'm older.
Wait, I just want to know, how many pets do you have?
I have 4 guinea pigs. I had 2 mice. Lucky passed away. I had 5 fish. We have 2 left. Those are more my mom's now. I have 2 hamsters, and I have a dog. Yeah.
And how do you maintain all of them?
It's a force. Feed the guinea pigs 3 times a day, dog twice, and then fish, I don't know, my mom takes care of the fish. And then the mouse, you just give him food every now and then. They just burrow and he just sleeps all day, so it's fine.
My mom would just get scared of all those pets. But there you go.
Those just all, they're all so cute. They sound like, I mean, honestly, like, I own a rabbit, so I know what you mean.
He's a bunny enthusiast.
I love rabbits, okay?
Oh, me too.
And I know what you mean about, like, the smaller animals, like, being forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for anyone who's ever owned a smaller pet, you can see how much they're basically, like, I hate to say it, but, like, ignored when people are like, oh, like, come to a shelter and, like, adopt these animals, which is awesome, of course, but, like, there's so many shelters for rabbits and smaller animals that have to put down a lot of their pets because people, like, keep going to breeders as opposed to them. And the lights thing, like, that's not even something that I thought about, but if that, like, once you make that, if I heard of that as a thing you could donate to, I would donate money to that or, like, help somehow, because it's one of those things that people don't realize, like, they can help with, but you want to.
Or honestly, if you just go to the common, every single tree has lights on there. Just, like, take a couple off, just maybe donate them, honestly. But, you know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, those sound like really great programs that I would hope you do get to start up eventually. And, but yeah. Derek, did you have something? This guy just loves talking about bunnies.
No, Guru, you know this. I like to say, I want good questions. I don't want to sit here and, like, try and come up with something. I want to ask good questions to let you talk about what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's a backhanded insult, but thanks.
It's not, Guru. You're taking it way too personally.
I am.
I think we need to get Guru sensitivity lessons. That would be a service to the community.
Can you provide me with that?
What?
Can you provide me with that?
Maybe. I don't know.
Sensitivity
I'd have
lessons?
to get on that.
Do you know a good therapist, Derek?
No.
Are you a therapist?
No.
That's
my
sad.
sister's a hypnotist, but
Random.
Wow.
yeah, see.
I like that. I'll have to meet her sometime. But
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your passion? Anything, smallest detail.
Smallest detail. I don't really know. I've done a ton of events. I probably didn't even name them all. I've done so many. Went to let's see. One time, very random fact, I can talk about that one. We had like a field day thing during a team depot. We had a field day for oh my god, what town was it? It's one of the towns that are way more run down, and we were on the bad side of that town, and where there's a lot of poverty and a lot of homelessness and a lot of struggle. And there was this kid, and his clothes, they were kind of ripped, and you could tell he comes from like a hard family and like a hard life. And like we saw him over at the table, and he was just stuffing food in his pockets And I was like 9. I had no idea what he was doing, and I was like, why is he stealing food? Like, why does that? Like, why does he need to take that? And then they started telling me, and that's when probably one of the first times I really realized what like community service was. And so when they told me like that none of them were addressing him, they were just kind of letting him do it, and then I was just kind of like, well, why don't you give him a Ziploc bag? And then they all just kind of looked at me, and I was like, don't we have Ziploc bags so he doesn't have to keep them in his pockets? And then I was like talking about how his clothes look dirty, and I was like, it's gonna get all dirty. And then they were like, that's a good idea. So they went and they got Ziploc bags, and they put a bunch of food for him and his sister that he watched. And the kid was like, I felt so bad. He was like 11, and he took care of his sister and like all sorts of stuff. And then so, I don't know, that's a random fact, I guess.
Actually, that just randomly reminded me of this other occurrence I had with like, it was like a homeless person, but it was like, I was in India at the time. It was like a summer vacation thing. And then I was in the car, I was in the back seat, I was next to my grandfather, my mom was in the passenger seat, and there was a driver there. And then we were stuck in traffic, and I think it was, I don't know if it was raining or not, but I think it was very foggy. And then I heard a tapping on the window, and there was like this little girl, I think she was like 8 or 9, no, like 9 or 10 actually. And then she was like tapping on the window, with holding like a plastic bag of like cut slices of like pears. And then like she was like kept tapping, and then I finally like my grandfather like lowered the window and like bought them from her. And he didn't buy the whole thing. He just bought like a little bit, just so that she would like have enough to sell to other people. And then like we were eating the pears, but then she left and she was going to other cars. And then we were like eating the pears, but like I don't know if I ate them because I don't even like pears. But it was a weirdest occurrence, and I can never get that out of my head, just because, you know, it's just so random, and also like just so incredibly sad that this girl who's so incredibly, like, she was so young and she was having to like do this, and like
Yeah, and I think in other countries too, because I know, how do I put it? Sometimes this sounds really awful, but like we all know the world is an awful place, and sometimes there's people who would give money to something, but they don't want to feel like they're obligated to, or they don't want someone to come up to them and ask them for money. They want to like convince themselves, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart, like I came up with this idea, and like look at how good of a person I am that I'm giving this money. And like Guru said, like they're still doing good, but like it's weird because in some situations, like obviously asking for money is not like a bad thing, but like I know in situations like you said with the little girl, like obviously this is not true for like everywhere, but like I've been in situations with people who have been like, oh, I hate it when those people come up and like beg for money or something, and you're like they need it, but there's like so many things that go into it, and there's people who will donate to organizations that help poor people, but if they're walking by a homeless person, they won't even look at them. They'll like act like they aren't there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's weird sometimes.
Yeah. Have you ever like, actually wait, I have another story, but like have you ever had any like random encounters of just like when you're trying to do some service, and then maybe something like really random or something that sort of maybe changed your view on like what service is?
I don't. Would you consider like, I don't know, maybe not. That might just be helping a family member. Well, okay. So my neighbor, she's really, they're up there in age. She's very sweet. She's a wicked nice lady, and so is her husband. She like, her whole yard just looked like a disaster, and I know that from stories of like what the neighbors told, like apparently she used to have this like huge garden, like all these flowers and everything, just because like, I know that sounds weird that people were talking about our neighbor's garden, but like if you look at her house, like it's just bushes everywhere, and like so I had to ask, but she like reached out to me and asked me if I could be her gardener, and I have no garden experience, and I'm scared of bugs, and I don't like to be outside for too long, so I was kind of like, okay, I'll do it. So I did it, and I ended up really liking it, and so she teaches me about all different flowers and all sorts of stuff like that. And one day she invited me inside, and like she had artwork everywhere, and then I realized she was an artist. So my job went from like being her gardener to being like her, she calls me her helper. Like I'll go inside and like she helps me learn about art while I help her like organize and everything. Now she doesn't always like, it became more of community service because she doesn't really pay me anymore. She pays me in like her artwork. Like if there's like a piece I'm like, oh, I love that, she'll be like, you can have it. I'm like, no, like I really don't need it. And she's like, no, you should take it. And so it just kind of like she became like my friend. She's gone for like 6 months now because she's in Florida. But like she became like a friend of mine, and like I don't know, random little experiences that you get from things that you wouldn't even think. Like I was dreading going over there to do the gardening. I'm not a gardener. I was dreading it, but like I did it, and just doing something as small as that, like, you know, you find all these new affiliations with people and end up connecting, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wish more people would have experiences such as your, like that one you just mentioned, because I guess, as we were saying, a lot of people are, I guess, kind of maybe just lazy or people our age, you say, are like lazy or unmotivated, and if they just sort of like took a chance, but like to just do something, and then they sort of realize the value in it, and then they do it again. Because I mean, even with deer, my friends just sort of coerced me into like doing that event. But then after the first thing, I was just like, okay, I need to do this program like forever. That's basically how I just felt about it. And then like I mean, they started it last year, but like that's basically how I wish more people would like have experiences as you had mentioned. And then my other story, the greatest act of human kindness I've ever experienced. But the thing what you were saying about like some people are like hesitant to like talk with talk with, or like they give money to like a homeless person. And then so last year my American Studies class and some orchestra kids went to Chicago. I think I've told you the story before. And one of the chaperones was like Mr. Hyatt, who was our history teacher. And then so it being in Chicago, we had to get deep dish pizza. So then one night we got that, and then they forced us to take leftovers. And then before we went back to the hotel, we decided to visit some pieces of just like art around. And like there are these giant Picasso sculptures that you could actually like climb on and play on and everything, which is actually, you can actually say, if you're on that trip, you played on art. You played on Picasso. And but then there was one sculpture in like this huge area, and everyone was just like sliding on it and like climbing up and everything. And then like I turned my head and I saw Mr. Hyatt like walking. He was carrying like 3 boxes of like these of pizza, like leftovers, and then he was walking like different homeless people in the area and like giving it to them. And then like I just wanted to cry, because that was just like the greatest thing I had ever seen. And then like at that time, but yeah.
I love seeing prank videos that aren't really pranks, like they help people. Like I remember seeing this, like, I don't even know why they called it a prank, but this guy pretended to be like not a police officer, something like that, and he was like, he was like on a corner watching like these 2 homeless people, and he was like, I have 2 undercover agents and I need you guys to deliver pizza for them. And he like paid through the phone, and like he just got like 2 pizzas for these random people. And I think it's even stuff like that can, you know, there's people who will be like, oh, well, you know, that doesn't really help, like the pizza runs out after. Like, chill for a second. Like, you're helping someone, and in that moment having someone do something for you individually means a lot.
Do you know how much it pisses me off when people are this is what I hate hearing. It's gonna happen anyway, so why bother trying to like fix it or trying to like do something about it? I hate it. I want to like punch those people in the face when they say that. Okay? Because it's like the worst form of thinking, of just being like, you're just being lazy and unmotivated, and you're unwilling to accept that change can't happen. And sure, like, I mean, change isn't, like, it doesn't happen like with a snap of your fingers. Like, sure, it may take a while. It's a gradual process, but it's not impossible. It's only impossible if no one tries to do it. But then what I hate even more are the people who are hypocrites, who will be like, they complain about everything. They complain that the world sucks, or this town sucks, or like whatever is horrible, but then they don't do anything. They just like to complain about it. And you know what I mean? And that's what I sorry.
Well,
but like, yeah, sorry, continue.
People don't realize, like, community service isn't always like an event or like a huge thing. Like, it can be this tiny thing that you do, like way back to what we were talking about, like wrapping gifts. Like, that's tiny. Like, people do that.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing that since probably like the last day of November, because I've had to get a head start on all the gifts I had to get. Like, tiny things that like you wouldn't even think of, like giving to, like, you know, where did I go? I don't know, anywhere, like a McDonald's or anywhere. You know how they have that little box and you have like the tiniest bit of change left, so you just throw it in there. Like, you don't really think much of that. You're like, oh, I'm just trying to get rid of my change. But like, if a couple people like all over the world are just throwing in a couple things to change. That's like thousands of dollars. Like, you wouldn't even think about it. It doesn't even need to be a conscious thing that you're doing. Sometimes you're just doing community service without even knowing. Like, if there's somebody who, like, maybe, like, I know, like, I was at Stop and Shop one time, somebody dropped their bag or like whatever they had in their bag, so, you know, they were right in front of me. I'm not going to walk by. That's just rude and common sense. So I was like, oh, help them pick it up. And, like, that's not an event or anything. That's community service, though. You're helping somebody who's in your community, and you're helping somebody who's, you know, there, and just a conscious thing. Like, you might not even know you're doing it, but I guarantee you, like, most people have, unless you're a really greedy, just selfish person. But, like, you know, I don't know. It's just a thing that I think everybody can participate in, whether or not, and you don't even have to, like, donate money per se, like, it, because there's plenty of people who struggle, like, financially on their own. You don't need to donate money. It can just be something you do, like an action, like, you know, you go out and help a neighbor, or you, like, yeah, like, if you have an elderly neighbor, like, help them rake the lawn, you know, something small like that. Like, it doesn't always need to be, I'm so, like, oh, I already send cash here, I already send cash there, because I know, like, my stepdad loves it too, like, loves community service, but, like, we get letter after letter after letter of, like, oh, donate here, send charity here, and it's, like, honestly, it gets exhausting. Like, you just stop wanting to read that, and you just throw them out, because you're like, oh, like, it's just, like, a hassle.
Yeah.
So the ones that don't spam us, we have, like, this rule, the ones that don't spam us with stuff, we will donate to, because most times, those are the more, like, significant people, because they're genuinely trying to, like, help, like, I think the American Cancer Society, they only send us one, like, you know, like, a month or so, and so we always send money. St. Jude's, like, incredible foundations like that, but, you know, it just becomes crazy when you're getting letter after letter of the same exact thing, and you're like, I already donate here, and you're still calling me. Please stop calling me.
I didn't went back to what you said, Derek. Like, people, I think they expect a reward. You know what I mean? But yeah, I wish people would think more like what you said, of just, like, even the simplest thing, even if it's just like a nickel. You know what I mean? But yeah.
I know people are always looking for, like, a reward for something that they do, and you can just do it for, you know, just the experience, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that a reward in and of itself?
In some eyes.
Yeah. Well, Derek, nothing.
Nothing.
No good questions.
You guys are all saying all the good things.
Okay, there. He's trying to make up for what he said earlier.
What did I say earlier?
Well, Katrina, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I don't know. I think that's all I really have, unless I have a question. That's all I got.
Okay, then. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to this week's episode of The Passion Project. Derek and I are going to work over our differences by next week's episode.
Okay, Guru's going to try. I'm not going to put any effort in.
Yeah, it's Derek. I don't know what Derek's doing. But, okay. I'm sorry, Derek. I love you.
I don't even know what Guru's talking about. I love you too, Guru.
Thank you so much, Katrina, for coming here to talk to us
Yeah,
today.
Christina.
No problem. My pleasure.
Whatever. If you want, go to our YouTube channel to subscribe, and you can get all our other episodes. And also,
We'll
stay
be doing the community service.
Exactly. And next week we have Mr. Mahoney. I can't talk today, guys. I'm sorry. Mr. Mahoney's coming on, Winchester High School principal. It's also gonna be a lot of fun. Please listen to. Hope you really enjoyed this episode. Hope you take and heart at what a lot of the things that Katrina said, a lot of the great things that she said. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.